Alright, cool. We back, Salakia. You know, problems with the internet and the data on the mobile phone causing me all kind of issues. But yeah, it says in verse 30, the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So because they maintained their faith to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, they were greatly rewarded, man. They were greatly rewarded. Now, of course, man, brothers, sometimes, you know, you're not always going to have that zealous spirit on you. The apostles have made mention of that, but you got to just maintain, man. You got to know that Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is going to redeem you from hell if it's your lot. And even if you have to go through it all the way to the end, know that your reward is great in the kingdom of heaven, man. Look onto Yahweh Shai's example. That's all I can really say. And know that there's nothing worth living for in this society. What, to see your children become homosexuals, ask you about changing their gender because Esau's pumped it into their head. You know, you have your woman rebelling against you, have your woman leaving you, taking your children and fucking off, you know what I mean, having your family talk all kind of shit to you, man, you know, having faggots in your family. I mean, it's having to just work until the age of 70. Oh man, hell, all kind of physical and mental blocks. I ain't even gonna get into all of that. I'm gonna round this sit down up with a very powerful chapter, which is 2nd Maccabees, the 7th chapter. I encourage every brother that's not already read this to read this. It's about the mother and her 7 sons, man, and it's a moving chapter. Now you see, these devils, man, because this was during the time of the Greeks, and the Greeks did this, man. So if any devil thinks they're gonna waltz into the kingdom of heaven, oh man, oh man, oh boy. Anyway, let's get into this. 2nd Maccabees chapter 7 and 1. It says, it came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. So basically, the Grecians were just, you know, demonstrating their power, man. They took this family of 7 children and their mother and said, eat swine's flesh, disregard your law or die. And let's see what they said. It says, but one of them spake first and said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. That's the spirit, man. That's the fucking spirit. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot. So he was pissed that he was like, looking at them like, who the fuck are these mongrels, these animals to disregard me? He was looking at our people like they were pieces of shit. Yeah, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the uttermost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. Imagine that. He ordered his men to cut off the man's tongues and the utmost parts of his body, which would have most probably been his limbs. So he ordered them to cut off the man's tongues, his limbs as well. Imagine that. The rest of his brethren and his mother having to look at that. Now, when he was thus maimed in all his members, imagine that, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan. They cut off the man's tongue, his limbs, and fried him in a pan. And you think devils like that are going to make it into the kingdom of heaven? Imagine that. As the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus, the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai looketh upon us, and in truth has comfort in us, as Moses in his song which witnessed to their faces declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock, and when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair of his head, they asked him, wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? So imagine that they peeled his skin and his hair off his face. But he answered in his own language and said, no. Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. And when he was at the last gasp, he said, thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life. He cursed the king to his face and said, the Lord Most High and his son will raise us back up. Imagine that. Imagine that. After him was the third made a mocking stock, and when he was required, he put out his tongue, that at that right soon holdeth forth his hands manfully, and said courageously, These I had from heaven, and for his laws I despised them. So he said, fuck it, I'll lose my arms for the sake of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and from him I hope to receive them again, because he knew that the Most High had the power to. And so much that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for he had nothing regarded, for he nothing regarded the pains. He just didn't give a fuck. He was like, fuck it, the pains, only temperamental, man. Imagine that. Now when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said, Thus it is good being put to death by men, to look for hope from the Most High, to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt see no resurrection to life. He cursed that devil straight to the face. Imagine that. You're being killed, and he looked that devil straight in the face and said, you have no hope of resurrection to life, whereas I do. So he knew that the pain, no matter how grievous it was only temperamental, man. Afterward they brought the fifth also and mangled him. Then looked he unto the king and said, Thou hast power over men, thou art corruptible, thou dost what thou wilt, yet think not that our nation is forsaken of God. Oh man. But abide a while and behold his great power, and he will torment thee and thy seed. After him also they brought the sixth, who being ready to die said, Be not deceived without cause, for we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against our power. Therefore marvelous things are done unto us. So he knew that the reason that they were going through this hell was because ultimately, man, in past lives and as a whole nation, they went against the kingdom. They went against the laws, man, of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. But ultimately he knew, man, that it wasn't going to be permanent, man. But think not that thou takest in hand to strive against God. Thou shalt not escape unpunished. Hey, man, because he knew that heathen was going to get punished for the hell that you put on them. And you best believe when the Most High gives us that power, people like that, man, we're going to find them in the kingdom of heaven, and they're going to suffer grievous deaths. Oh, man. Grievously. God is not mocked, for whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. You got to remember that if you're put through hell by a heathen, even one of your own people, the 2/3, man, a woman, whatever the hell, anyone that comes against the elect, man, you're going to suffer, man, because the elect are the firstborn of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. We are his chosen, Lord willing, we be all members of the elect. So anyone that puts his hand upon us, man, Israel itself is the apple of the Lord's eye. And if Israel is the apple of the Lord's eye, imagine what the elect is, man. Oh man, the world was created for the elect's sake. So anyone that comes against the elects, even amongst Israel, the 2/3, oh boy, you got hell to pay, man. You got hell to pay. That's what you got to go through. Remembering, even if your head gets put on that guillotine, man, through the fear, even if you cry a tear, you still went out for your Yahweh and Yahushai. But you got to know that heathen that done that to you, man, you're going to have your fucking vengeance, man. Yeah? And I'm getting pumped up, but that's the truth. Remember that. Remember that. But the mother was marvelous above all, verse 20, and worthy of honorable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of one day, she bare it with a good courage. All of her 7, she went through labor 7 times, saw all of that taken from her within a couple of hours, and she bare it with good courage because of the hope that she had in the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Tell me a woman like that you're going to find out here. You ain't going to find shit like that out in this fucking wicked kingdom, man. Yea, she exhorted every one of them in her own language, filled with courageous spirits, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. And she said unto them, I cannot tell how you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you, but doubtless the creator of the world. Man, she gave all praises to God, the Most High giveth and the Most High taketh away, who formed the generation of man, and found out the beginning of all things, who will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as ye now regard not your own selves for his law's sake. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that, man. Oh, man. Imagine that. Man. Oh, man. Oh, I can't believe. Oh, man. Brothers, man, some of us are going to have to catch holy hell, man. What we go through now is just a light affliction. Some brothers are thrown into prison. Some brothers, might have to spend a day or 2 in a jail cell. But ultimately, man, the hell that we're about to catch for Yahweh Shai's sake is not a joke. You got to know what you're riding for, man. The world is going to come against you heavy. But when you're at camp and you're listening to brothers push the word, you're listening to the word being exalted, it should stir your spirit up and make you realize, fuck this society. The more that this place goes on, you see the vanity in this place, you see the wickedness, and you see that there's nothing that can possibly come out for you in this society, nothing but wickedness. So it's so-called 2018 and everything's still fucking the same. The time ain't even recorded right. At the end of the day, the only way we're gonna make it out here is through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Maintain the faith and stay strong, man. I know that the Lord is the only way we're getting out here, brothers. The Lord is the only way we're gonna make it out. I ain't got nothing more to say, but these devils are gonna pay. And hey, man, fight the good fight of faith. Yeah? Stay strong, Akyam. Shalom. Shalom.